There's an overwhelming amount of financial advice out there for service members and veterans, so I boiled it all the way down to the 9 steps that I think are the most critical for you to take to set yourself up for success financially. Let's dig in. Right off the bat, number 1 is earn the matching contribution on your thrift savings plan. At the bare minimum, you should be contributing 5% so that as your time in the military goes, you earn the full matching contribution from the government. Because what happens is if you get put in 5% and the military puts in 5%, that is an automatic on day 1 doubling. Let's say you put in $10 and they put in $10. You just turned your $10 into $20 on day 1. Guaranteed, backed by the government. Nothing they can do will change that once it happens. You can't argue with an instant 100% return on your money anywhere in the market that's guaranteed by the government. That is the best guaranteed return you could possibly have. Now, when you're doing this, you need to know that if you put your money into the Roth, the match will always go into the traditional, so it'll be taxed a little bit differently, but that's beyond the scope of this video. And I've got videos on the Thrift Savings Plan that you can check out that'll talk about Roth and traditional and how to choose and all of that. But the bottom line is at least put 5% in from day 1 consistently. Personally, I would recommend 10 or 20% as your initial default. And then every time you get a pay raise, whether that's your 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 6, 8, 10, 12 year mark in the military, or when you get promoted to E2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that you take 1% or 2%. So if you get a 3% pay raise, you take 1 or 2% and you stuff it in the TSP so that over time you go from 10% to 11% to 15% to 20% of your paycheck going into the thrift savings plan, because that thrift savings plan is what takes care of you when you're 60. And so that allows you to know that your retirement is set on autopilot, compounding, doing its thing, and then you can take a little bit more risk in your finances because you've already set your retired self up for success. So now it's just about setting your current self up for success, but you have a fallback plan, which is really, really comforting. Now, the second step you're going to do is you're going to build at least a 1-month emergency fund, meaning if you spend $800 a month, you should get to where you have at least $800 in a checking account set off to the side. And the benefit here is that now if, let's say, you have a flat tire and you have to buy a new tire and it costs you $200 or $300, you don't have to swipe your credit card. You can pull it from your emergency fund and then replenish your emergency fund, which means you don't run the risk of racking up credit card debt unnecessarily, and you don't have to pay interest on credit card debt that you didn't necessarily have to use in the first place. And the last thing you want to do is put $300 on a credit card, then let them charge you 18% interest on that for the next year while you don't pay it off, when you could have just had the cash sitting over here to pay for the tire. Well, now this $300 is going to cost you $500 or $600 to pay off, and it's just going to keep growing, and it's going to hurt your credit, and it's just dumb. Now, I know I said a 1-month emergency fund, and there are people who recommend 3 to 6, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The reason I say 1 month up front is because that gives you at least a little bit of runway for any kind of major expenses or whatever that come up this month, to step 3, which is to pay off any and all debt and then keep it off. Now, when I say debt, I don't mean your mortgage. Yes, your mortgage is debt, but it's usually long-term fixed rate debt that is tied to an asset that is beneficial. I mean paying off your bad debt, which is debt tied to liabilities that costs, in my head, anything over 7% interest is considered bad debt, because 7% interest is the standardized S&P 500 market returns. And so you can outpace that on just a normal traditional investment. Therefore, it's costing you more money than your money would be earning elsewhere. If you have a 3% interest car loan, it may not be super critical to pay it off, even though the car is a liability. That's going to be a personal preference. I would say credit cards, always. Lines of credit, always. Any of these revolving types of, consumerist debt, definitely pay off as fast as humanly possible. Now, I've got full videos on how to pay debt off fast, but there's really 2 methods, which are called the snowball or avalanche method, and they both basically say if you have 3 credit cards, pay the minimum on 2 of them and put every extra dollar you can into one, whether you want to choose the one with the lowest balance or the highest interest rate. And then as soon as that one's paid off, take every dollar you were paying on that and put it into the second one, and then all of that money into the third one. And then once you're done with that, I would say whatever money you were using to pay off all that, invest it. Do not let it go back into your checking account. Just invest it without even thinking about it. And that's how you start compounding in a good way. Number 4 here is house hacking, which is where you take the VA loan and you buy one house, a duplex, a single family, a triplex, a fourplex. So basically either buy a single family house with 5 bedrooms where you can rent 4 of the bedrooms out and live in one, or buy a triplex or a fourplex, live in one of the units, rent the other units. And in both scenarios, if you do it right, you can live for free collect all of your BAH. You've eliminated your housing expense, which is your largest expense for most Americans. And now you can take all that money and reinvest it. And if you're interested in learning how to do that, I'll drop a link down below for a free training I host every week where we talk about how to use, I call it VA stacking, but how to use your VA loan to house hack on repeat and really reap these benefits. And in that training, I will show you just how powerful this move is and how quickly it can compound to change your entire financial system. I'll drop a link down below for that. And I'm telling you, the house hack is powerful. I've probably got more videos on this than anything else, so I'm not going to go super far into this, but it's like, hey, if you can eliminate your housing expense and reinvest it, that'll set you up for success in the long run. Now, once you've house hacked, you should save that first little bit of your housing allowance to have a $10,000, what I call cash reserves, meaning if like an air conditioning unit goes out, you want to have the money to pay for it so it doesn't hurt you or put you in a financial situation. So let's say you save $2,000 a month by house hacking. You should save the first 5 months of that just so you have a buffer in case there's like a tree that hits the roof or an HVAC unit that goes out or a washer that goes out or a dishwasher or a shower that needs to be replaced or whatever. You've got cash just so you can buffer any of those hurdles. And once you have that $10,000 set aside as cash reserves, now you can go and reinvest the rest of it. But again, I would say step 6 here is after you've got that 10 grand set aside, then maybe you build out that 3 to 6 month financial freedom emergency fund runway where you're like, okay, now if I lost my job today, I want to have enough money set aside to where I could survive for the next 6 months, which luckily, because you're house hacking, is not going to be as much money because your housing costs are covered, so your living expenses are much lower, which means you can take a little bit less money into that emergency fund, but you should have a 3, ideally 6-month emergency fund set aside just in case everything else falls off the rails. That's how you really cover your ass. Now that you've got the housing covered, your debt paid off, your emergency fund funded, your cash reserves, and all of your like major possible glitches out of the way, you should really start contributing to your thrift savings plan, maybe an IRA, index funds, like really I would maximize your TSP probably before you do anything else. And then you could also set up an individual retirement account like an IRA civilian side, or even index funds with whatever extra cash you have coming around. But maximizing that TSP as much as possible early on is going to really set you up for success in the long run. And then number 8, I would choose your preferred investment strategy, whether that's index funds where you just invest in like a total stock market fund through Vanguard. I would recommend the book Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins if you want to dig into that, or real estate, where you could read my book, you can read a myriad of other real estate investing books, but really go all in on real estate, or whatever that strategy is. Whatever you've decided is your investment niche, become an expert in that, whether it's index funds or crypto or real estate or buying businesses or running businesses or whatever it is. Really set yourself up to where you are an expert in that niche and you have set those investments up on autopilot, because now you've got cash, you've got reserves, you've got your TSP, you've got your housing expenses covered, you've got cash reserves, you've got all this stuff set up, you've cleared out your bad debt. All of that extra money in your budget, you should be just pumping it into investments for future you. That's how you create the financial freedom. A lot of people get to this point and then they make the mistake of being like, now I can buy the supercar, which, don't get me wrong, like I drive a 2025 Corvette Z06. I just bought it. It's a dream car. It's wonderful. But I also bought that when I had a $2 million net worth and, $300 or $400K in the bank, and I could have bought it cash, but I bought it in the way I did just so that I'd still have cash on hand because I'm set up for success already. I sold all my toys when I first got into real estate investing. I had a convertible, a truck, a Harley. All of them went away to start buying real estate, and I drove a Jetta station wagon that was beige and looked like a mom mobile for like 6 years. And I beat the crap out of that car, but I did that while I was building all of this so that I could get to the point where I bought the nice car. So don't go buy the nice car yet. Invest in your future. And then once all of that gets to a space where it pays you to live, then you can go buy the supercar and the experiences and the whatever. The 9th step here is be consistent. This is the bonus step. Like, just keep going. Like, this is really it. Like, let me just run this through. I'm going to just look at it. Like, matching contribution on TSP, bare minimum. Then a 1-month emergency fund, followed by paying off all your debt, followed by a house hack that allows you to save $10,000 in cash reserves, and then 3 to 6 months in your emergency fund. And once you've done that, start maximizing your TSP and investing in index funds or real estate or whatever your niche is. Become an expert and just go all in on that. And then just stay consistent. Just keep your living expenses as lean as possible and put everything else you can, everywhere else you can, to just live life later. If you're 25 right now and you can get to where you're 35 and you have $2 million and you're like, I don't need to work anymore, that's a great time to start living life, as opposed to being like, I'm 25, I'm going to go buy the supercar and look cool, but then I'm never actually going to be able to retire because I robbed from future me. That's not the move. So be consistent, keep going. There's going to be ups and downs in the market and ups and downs in the strategy, but like these 9 steps are guaranteed to set you up for a solid foundation of finances to where you can take this and go anywhere you want with it and be successful. Now, I've got all sorts of resources on all of this, but here's what I would say. If you scan this QR code, it'll take you to a 45-minute, 50-minute free personal finance course that I give to service members and vets. There's 3 options on it. It's got individual courses on each subject where it breaks out the strategy. And then it's got the full presentation as like one presentation where you can watch it like you're sitting in a classroom as if I was giving you the full presentation. And then it also has a PowerPoint that you can use to give to other service members and vets once you're confident with this information if you want to give it to your unit. But if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to my free personal finance course, and that will help you set yourself up for success. And if you scan this QR code, it'll let you download a free copy of my book, The No BS Guide to Military Life, which is everything I wish I'd known about the military and finances when I first joined. Between those 2 resources and this video, I can almost guarantee you that you'll set yourself up for success. If you actually do the work, you'll put yourself in the top 5% of all service members financially very, very, very quickly, and then you'll be able to live the life that you want down the road, which, as somebody living the life I want, it's pretty freaking great. So I hope this video helped. I would love if you would smash the like button, subscribe, and whatever else, comment, do whatever to drive engagement, but more importantly, just share this with somebody that would benefit from it if you know of them. All that being said, I love you guys. Have a great freaking day.